Check, 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 check. There we go. Oh shit, we're backwards.
Backwards?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Oh, switch?
Yeah.
Down. Figure it out. I think we are. I think we're streaming live.
Hello.
We have 13 platforms now, including a lot of Twitch-like events. There's Twitch, Africa TV, YouNow, InstaJib, StreamMe, Picardo, and Chew. And I don't know any of those. And I think we're also streaming live on Periscope to a couple accounts on, of course, Facebook. And I think Twitch is working, which of course is the most important part.
Streaming empire.
Right. So my name is Freeman Michaels. I'm running for Congress in California's 52nd District.
I'm Danielle St. John. I'm running for Congress in California's 49th District.
And of course, today we are going to talk about Russiagate and election fraud. So here we are.
Well, first, I just wanted to say I just like a little bit of current events.
Yes.
I had an interview with RT today about the Russian bot video that we did. A bunch of us got together and just claimed our Russian botness, and it got the attention of RT. So I did just a little. I mean, it wasn't like a live interview or anything like that, but I did an interview today with RT.
So what was for the people who don't know the whole Russian bot stuff, what's up?
And it's not on. I'm not seeing it on Danielle's.
Oh, I'm not streaming.
Did you not connect your Facebook, do that little thing?
Yeah, I did. We did it together.
Did we? Uh-oh. So you are...
I'll share it then later.
Okay.
I'll just share it. Yeah, I'll just
Okay.
share it.
Uh-oh. Our most popular page. It's down for the count.
Thank God we still have Twitch.
Twitch. We're twitching. I think we're twitching. But so tell the whole Russian bot thing came about because it seemed like every argument that went against the DNC or the FBI, you were accused of being a Russian bot. So someone went and created a whole video about all these people who fit the Russian bot narrative. And Danielle, a lot of us fit the Russian bot narrative, but you did. So you recorded a stream, and
and so they contacted the people who put the little video together, and they said, yeah, we want to interview, and just pick you and pick a few people from the video to get interviewed too. I was lucky enough to get picked. So
but I thought it was interesting because RT is clearly interested in how people are responding to this Russian bot narrative, because their country is obviously going to be the one that gets attacked if our government deems that this Russian story has legs and they get people motivated enough to be pissed off. And it seems like it's really being the blame for almost anything. And if there's ever a problem, you're like, yeah, well, the Russians probably hacked something. We should probably bomb them or send a missile or something like that.
Yeah.
Which was also interesting. I'm going to grab my beer.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
We just switched sides a few minutes ago.
Match the banner.
Yeah.
What was also interesting is that didn't Russia or Vladimir Putin, I didn't see it, I think it was on his Twitter feed that he posted something about how Russia has nuclear missile or anti-missiles that would take out all of our weapon systems. Or like if we launched nukes at them, they launched nukes at us, we basically wouldn't be able to defend it. That's what it is. Hypersonic nukes or something like that. I didn't really pay much attention because at this point it's like governments pounding their chest.
Exactly.
But it's like, is that really the environment we want, to blame Russia for what? And that was the part that I thought was interesting. What are we really blaming Russia for? When we get down to it, they say, well, there was Facebook ads and clickbait, because as we know, it wasn't Russia that hacked the DNC. Do you want to talk about the Seth Rich stuff that just happened?
Oh, yeah, this is kind of breaking news.
And then we'll get into Facebook ads and clickbait.
This is kind of breaking news. I just shared it on my wall. Actually, my phone's over there, so yeah.
I'm going to check it.
Okay, so Kim.com on Twitter just...
Kim.com. It's a little embarrassing getting information from that guy, but at the same time...
What else are we going to do?
If you're crazy enough to take on world governments, do you really think you're going to be a normal person? And Kim.com fits the description of not being that normal.
So let's see. And so an acquaintance, so this is Kim.com saying that an acquaintance of the Sethridge family there's these discussions going on that confirm within the Sethridge family. This is actually this is a mainstream article he's quoting too, right? Hold on, sorry. Yeah, Washington Times.
Washington Times.
Yeah,
I mean, not super liberal,
this.
but at the same time.
Yeah, Kim.com may be the one tweeting it, but it's Washington Times. So there's evidence that the family knows about it. The family knows that Seth Rich was the leaker. And so, Washington Times is even coming around to this.
And the family was always being a little weird to me. I wasn't judging them because they lost their son, but their response was something that it seemed like they weren't interested in pushing further.
No.
And that always made me curious. They're like, stop looking into this. I'm like, why would they want, you would think they would want to know the truth, and it seems like that they probably had, of course, more information, and there was some reason why they didn't want someone looking into this. And I'm guessing they were, I can't speculate, but
right.
It seems like someone's arm was twisted, or there was a reason for them to want to be silent, and I think that's curious.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, like, I purposely want to talk about Russiagate as little as possible because, you know what, Donald Trump has been president for a while now, and if there was evidence, there would have been evidence by now.
You would think they would have come out with it by now.
Right. So I don't really want, so really, can we, like, talk about the real election fraud that happened in the 2016 election? It didn't happen with Russia. It happened during the primaries and with the DNC and Bernie Sanders.
And we went through and looked and found a bunch of articles just going off the top of our head. We were thinking about the New York primaries, where it don't look at it in terms of whether or not it's legal or not. Look at it in terms of whether or not it's good for people or it's good for those in power. And what's good for those in power is making it a little more difficult to vote. You want to get people to be excited to vote. This is what democracy looks like. But you also want to make sure that the wrong people don't vote. And that's basically anyone who is excited about an alternative or a progressive option, or on the conservative side, anyone who's not towing the Republican line as well. Anyone who's basically for the people, conservative or progressive, anyone who's for the people, those people kind of get pushed aside. And it is a perfect example, completely legal, but the DNC made you register to vote as a Democrat for the New York primary 9 months before the vote. And right now, people are like, okay, well, whatever, that was how you had to participate. Well, they make these rules up as they go. And this was before people even heard of Bernie Sanders. And a lot of people, I remember a lot of the hardcore Berners were saying, everyone's got to register, everyone's got to register. But then 6 months later, that's when people really get going, and that New York primary was going to be huge because that was Bernie's Brooklyn hometown and Hillary's alleged hometown. I mean, it wasn't really either of their hometowns, but it's like that could have been a huge swing for Bernie. But of course, they made the primaries close, so independents couldn't vote, and they made it so you had to register 9 months in advance. And it's like, it's not against the law, but clearly the DNC and the government in general don't want people participating.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest problem.
Here's another fun fact. Did you know that Donald Trump's daughter wasn't registered to vote in the right party in time? It's not even just...
That's right, I remember that.
It wasn't even just Bernie. It's like this affects everybody.
Yeah.
Another one is actually, let's go back to just New York. They actually admitted the New York, the New York Board of Elections. I don't know if they can see it, but there you go. They already admitted that they purged 200,000 voters off the roll. It's not even like this is just conspiracy. This is conspiracy fact, folks. Like this is. And then we didn't write anything down about Arizona, but since we watched the video and it was.
We just watched that video.
Arizona election fraud. I actually learned a couple things about it tonight that I hadn't learned already. I kind of knew like some of the basics of it, but this is a new one for me. That the machines that they had that verified the voters on the voting rolls. If you put your driver's license number in and you did a lowercase letter, they said no.
She said with a straight face, the system wasn't set up to handle different capitalizations. So sometimes, I can understand that folks might be upset about that. I'm like...
Or that the Associated Press announced that Hillary had already... no, that's the next one. Hold on. Yeah, no, that's...
Sorry.
No, that's
I didn't ruin any movies.
Yeah, no. But so the Associated Press, there are people still waiting in line in Arizona to vote, and the Associated Press is already like 100% reported for, was it Miracle? One of the big counties. It was like 100% reported when there were still people like waiting in line to vote. Then the California primary, this is actually the day before the California primary. Now you can show this one.
I remember this happening live too. The Arizona one I don't remember as much, but this one was there's a lot of people that online they're like, okay, this is a fraud, this is crap. We haven't even voted yet. And AP's declaring that Hillary Clinton won. But for a lot of people who aren't politically obsessed and they just kind of see the headlines and they're busy living paycheck to paycheck and not paying attention to this stuff because they know deep in their minds it's crap, that would swing enough people not to vote.
Yeah, right?
Just that.
First of all, it was fraudulent because they included the superdelegates, and the superdelegates don't vote until the convention.
Shouldn't even be considered.
Shouldn't
even be talked about.
Exactly. But people believe the Associated Press. The Associated Press is the Associated Press, right? Like, it's just one of those things that...
I think... you want... Yeah.
I think...
Thank you. We'll keep it.
Yeah, we'll keep it.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyway,
the Associated Press.
So the people trust the Associated Press. This is just people, like what was Freeman was saying just a little bit ago. It's like people are too stressed out, they're too busy to go in and research the way that some are, and they have to be able to trust news sources, and they go to places like the Associated Press and they're being lied to.
And people don't realize that all the major news industries, just by the fact that they're operating in a world full of greed, means that the greed is going to attack them if they try to do anything that's going to counter profit. And it's even basic stuff like going to war. The Associated Press couldn't push for world peace or couldn't push for unity even if they wanted to, because that would be against someone else's profit. And they would, of course, get it. Whoever's making that decision at the assuming they wouldn't because they're in the same boat. But if they even tried to do something reasonable like that, they would face enormous pressure to stop.
Right.
And that's a huge problem in our news industry.
Right, and they, oops, it was a mistake. I'm sorry.
That's
They
the thing. It's
but they never
always an
even took it
oops.
down. They like, I just pulled this up from Twitter today.
Yeah.
If it was such a mistake, why is it still on your Twitter account? Make a retraction and take it off. But they're not sorry about this shit.
Well, the best part about the oops is going back to the Arizona. We just watched that video.
Yeah.
And the entire government response is always like, yeah, my bad, mistakes were made, the vendor this and this. But they don't
We'll fix it
rectify
next
the
time.
current situation, and they never actually, it's not that we need to punish someone, but they never actually address the systemic problem that happened, which of course is greed and corruption. But in the end, they don't rectify the situation, and the next time you have no recourse, and things are pretty much just as bad as they were before.
Exactly.
And as a perfect example, I don't know Michael Vu history, but he was in trouble in Ohio. Is that
Yeah, you could just
Michael Vu? By the way, I'm sorry. Michael Vu, by the way, is the person who's in charge of the register our voters, and he will be
In
the
San
person,
Diego,
in San Diego, and he will be in charge of counting our votes. And this guy got.
Oh, so I just like a little tiny bit of digging on Google, and he was convicted of election fraud in 2004 in Ohio, and
What
then
are the odds?
and then of course now the DNC's like, oh what, like you'll cheat? We kind of want to talk to you,
Shocking.
right? And I don't know if it's the DNC, but whatever, the establishment
It's
moves him to San Diego, and now we're like, oh yeah, I'm sure he's learned his lesson because he was convicted and never served a day in jail.
there was no lesson to be learned. The fact is, the lesson was that they can get away with
They
it
can get
because
away
people
with it.
can't. It's like, what are we really going to do? Protest outside this guy's office?
Yeah.
No, they'll just replace him with some other corrupt person. It's absurd and it's a complete joke. And it's like you
They don't
mentioned the
even try
DNC,
anymore.
but it's both sides where you have the district so gerrymandered where it doesn't matter as long as you get some establishment stooge and a Michael Vu-like stooge is there to make sure that vote goes the way it does, then you can keep establishment in power for indefinitely. And that's what we've seen. That's why we have war up the ass. That war is a big one for me. War and the fact that healthcare has been destroyed over 40 years, that's not an accident. And that's not something like, oops, we just didn't get Obamacare done. That's got to be intentional. It's not like these people are that dumb.
Right.
They can't.
Right.
It's just corruption.
Right, and now they don't even have to answer to the voters anymore. Like
Not at
it's not even like they just put this stuff out in plain sight, and now like honestly like there's a certain like threshold of corruption that I guess any of us can really even like tolerate. But right now, like the fact that we just went through a bunch of different cases. There are so many more. These are just the disgusting cases of election fraud that happened. It's really all that much more offensive that they're trying to drag us into war with Russia and blame them for something that our government did,
Right.
our tax dollars paid for.
They are committing, they being whatever big money is that is incentivize this crowd, they're committing election fraud, and then they're blaming Russia for it. And then the people who they fraudulently cheated, just last weekend they have chanting, this is what democracy looks like, and get them excited for the next election without addressing any of this crap.
Nothing.
It's
yeah.
like, this is absurd. I'm like, this is what democracy looks like? Are you?
No. Anyway, so that's all we really wanted to talk about today. Just because it was just so like pleasant that RT interview just fit right in with our
With
topics
this
today.
Russiagate stuff. And the biggest thing I have with Russiagate is that you have to ask, what is the end result of what the Russians did? And if they posted a bunch of Facebook ads and clickbait, then the next question should be, okay, what did that do? Did that change anyone's mind? What was the massive message? And when you push past, and that's hard to push people past that, especially like the establishment types who are pushing this message. But when you get it, they're like, well, the Russians said that Hillary was a bad person. I'm like, well, that's a judgment
She
that
is a
actually
bad
might be accurate. And again, if your presidential candidate is taken down by 13 Russian hackers, that's from the indictment, 13 Russian hackers, then maybe you need to find yourself a better candidate, one that's not under FBI investigation. And it's so insulting to the voters, and it's insulting to the concept of democracy that not only are we going to cheat you out of the election, we're going to blame someone else, we're going to try and go to war, and then we're going to get you excited for that same crap all over again. And by the way, if anyone who tries to question the official narrative, you're crazy, you're a Russian bot, or you're a conspiracy theorist. And at some point, we have to get over that, and we're going to have to start talking to each other and start cooperating. Because as bad as it's going to get, it's going to continue to get worse until people actually step out of this unconscious behavior where we're only voting for the two-party system. And I'm not saying you have to vote for us, but people keep saying, well, I'm going to vote for the lesser of two evils. Well, follow that down the path. At some point, you're going to be voting for Mussolini versus Hitler. And at that point, are you going to say, well, yeah, well, Mussolini's not so bad because Hitler's just a major jerk? It's like the logic eventually is going to break down. And at some point, you're going to have to say, we need to stand together with other people we might even disagree with, but at least that we can agree that our community should be built up in a sustainable and environmentally friendly fashion.
Exactly.
Independent fashion is actually what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Environmentally friendly just comes with the package because we don't want to destroy our planet.
Exactly.
It's kind of a human being thing. Even conservatives.
Right.
Even,
No, exactly.
even conservatives,
Exactly.
especially conservatives.
Good
Actually, I shouldn't say
stewards of the planet. But yeah, so I think we're okay. So we're going to be on tomorrow with just we'll talk about that later. But so I think we're done for here tonight.
Yes. So if you want to follow us, I think the most convenient place, unless you want to figure out how Twitch works and let me know, is probably to go to our YouTube channel. If you go to humanitarises.info and there's a YouTube link, if you click that channel, you can click subscribe and get notified on your phone or email or however else that Google does that. And that's probably the best place right now. But we are also on Periscope and, like I said, Twitch and Facebook and all that stuff works if you do what those websites say. I actually don't know, especially Twitch. Obviously, I love Twitch. I love Twitch.
We love Twitch.
Twitch, we think, is going to save the world. And
Although Periscope's not going to be bad either.
Periscope's not going to be bad, but Twitch is the underdog since we don't have any followers there, and it seems to be something. Anyway, that's all we got. Thanks a lot. I will see you tomorrow.
Yeah.